What is going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. BobbyFi here for my 5 and 5. We're going to jump right into it after a wild and crazy night that literally had everybody get announced out late. It's going to happen sometimes in the NBA, especially in 2022. But this is what I've got for tonight's slate so far. I'm sort of assuming that Jalen Suggs is not going to play at the moment. Now, if he does, you can sort of eliminate some of these magic that I'm talking about, but they all get a pretty good boost if Suggs is out, particularly Anthony, Suggs, and Carter. But let's start off with Phoenix again. We have Cam Payne simply still too cheap on DraftKings. If you watch Phoenix play, even with Cam Johnson, they pretty much run everything through Cam Payne. And he's too cheap. Shamit's still too cheap, and Holiday is still affordable if you want to take that tournament shot. Now, I don't have as much of a lock on Shamit as maybe some of the field does. I do have interest in him. I do have interest in Holiday, but Payne is the obvious preferred one. It's just if your lineup's a little chalky and you want to try and go a different direction and maybe 10% or 20% of your lineups, maybe playing Holiday or Shamit or even both of those two together could be an interesting way to go. I do want to remind you guys to please hit the the thumbs up, the like. We appreciate it all, and subscribe and check out TrueDFS.com. I've got all my early builds listed in there. We're adding features to the site every day. The site looks a million times better and it's functioning a million times better. And we're going to have a lot more offerings coming for you soon. So please check that out. We get into the rest of Phoenix with Ayton, Bridges, and Crowder as the main go-tos. Okay. Ayton is a really good play, but there are other options at center, more so on FanDuel that are cheaper, that are leading me to different builds. But on DraftKings, I think Ayton is a very strong play and will be in a good portion of my lineups tonight. Bridges and Crowder, I think Crowder is like, because the price may be a little bit of a safer-ish play, but Bridges has a lot of upside too. And without Cam Johnson, I just feel like these guys should really be in for it in what should be a pretty tight game. So I'm kind of a fan of using at least two players from Phoenix, maybe three in a stack, or maybe even four in a stack with one on the other side in this game. I think it's a really good opportunity. And I mentioned the situation with Suggs for the Magic, which leads me to Wagner, Carter, and Anthony, as I was speaking to about earlier. I have Wagner as the priority if I had to pick one right now, but I am dividing them up somewhat. And I think Anthony is the priority on FanDuel, Wagner on DraftKings, but they're both good on both sites, and Carter is as well, and he'll be the lower owned of the bunch. So Market and Mobley, Love. This is kind of not exactly my way of loving it. I think that Love is probably the best play for upside. I think Mobley is the safest to get there. And I think Marketing, we've seen a lot more ceiling from him this year than we usually have. So I like all three of them, but I sort of have it, Love, Mobley, Marketing. It's really close between all three, to be honest with you. Maybe you could argue Marketing is the safest, Love with the more upside. It's tough to figure out which one you want for sure, but I do like all three of those guys. I'll be dividing them up to some extent. And you could play like a lot of people are going to play Mobley, a lot of people are going to play Ayton, but if you play both those guys to start off with, at least you're, then playing two guys at the same price and have sort of a direct build. And if you want to throw, Wendell Carter Jr. into that mix, just a less likely build for someone to have. KD and LaMelo, I understand the price is up on LaMelo a little bit. I understand that we have a reasonable price on the lately on fire Terry Rozier. I am still going to make KD and LaMelo my priority. I love them both in this game environment. I think Bridges is an excellent play. I still think Rozier is an excellent play, as I was just alluding to. More people are going to play LaMelo on FanDuel because the price over there. I say you play him on both sites. I like that combination, which leads me into FanDuel. Those are my two top guys for natural 1v1 stacks. I love both of them, 7,800 and 10,600 respectively. I think it's just a fair price and a great matchup. And I expect both these guys to have a really big night tonight. Darius Garland, you just got to worry about the LaMelo foul trouble. That's the one thing that always throws me off a little bit. Darius Garland, I think, is a phenomenal play. I think he's a phenomenal play on DraftKings, even at 9K. We know there's a ceiling. We know he's not going to get it for us every night. But with, a good chunk of this roster out and him being the only one sort of with the ball in his hands, I feel like in this matchup, we could see a really big night from Garland against Indiana. So I like that whole game in general. And I didn't list the Indiana guys on here, but I think Buddy Hield and particularly Buddy Hield and Brogdon would be my favorites as run backs. But I do think we have to keep an eye out for the injury list, but we can be open to maybe some of the bigs as well. But I really like Garland tonight. I think he gets a little bit overlooked. Bridges, Ayton, and Crowder. Again, same reasons I said over there. They're a little more expensive over here. Maybe not as much of a priority because of others at the position. But I think on FanDuel, it probably goes Ayton, Bridges, Crowder for me. And maybe Bridges, Ayton, Crowder, pretty close. I like Bridges better. Don't like Crowder quite as much. Do like Ayton just as much. But again, I like some other centers. Looney, Drummond, Mo Bamba, speaking of some other center options, and you can include Herb Jones as the power forward version of this and play one of these guys at center if you want to. I like the idea of spending down at center a little bit today on FanDuel. It does allow me to do what I want in the backcourt with guys like Garland, and I mentioned the indie guys, KD, LaMelo, all that stuff. I think it affords us some opportunity, and I do expect one of these guys to have a big game tonight. It's always hard to pick which one. Maybe you go with the surest guy who's going to play minutes, and that's Bamba. Drummond, we don't know what his minutes are going to be like, but definitely has probably the highest upside. And Looney, we're pretty secure on his minutes. It is a back-to-back for them, and the 25-minute range definitely feels very possible tonight. So I think for tournaments, Bamba and Drummond are a little better than Looney, but I like Looney as well. Campaign, I thought initially would be a little lower owned on FanDuel tonight. It's not going to happen. He's 6,600. It's a high price we're used to seeing for Payne. I still really like him over there. Maybe you could argue because of the ownership that we don't need to go that direction, but that is something that I'm going to do anyway. So that's a quick 5 and 5 for you. I'll be live with you at 5:45 Eastern time, and let's make some money today, y'all. Good luck, everybody.